Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to lesson 7 of our Arabic alphabet series. And today we're learning the letter Khaa, the 7th letter in the Arabic alphabet. This is the letter Khaa. And as you can see, it's identical to the letter Jim, except that the dot is placed above the letter. And of course, it's written the exact same way as the letter Jim and the letter Ha. So this makes it very easy for us, right, to write this letter out. And it's written like this. We start with the top portion of the letter that has the form of a 7, right? So we're drawing this from left to right, like so, and then directly into a C shape, just like the Jim and just like the Ha, right? And of course, here we place the dot above the letter. And this is how we distinguish the letter Khaa from the letter Jim, right? So it's always important to include that dot above the letter Khaa. If you've mastered the Jim, then you've mastered the Ha. So you've definitely mastered the Khaa, right? Now the English alphabet doesn't have a letter with a sound similar to that of the Khaa. So this is one of those new sounds for someone who's a native English speaker, right? In Arabic, the Khaa represents the sound Kha, Kha. So it's this sound that's produced from the back of the throat while also exhaling, but we're scratching that area by the back of our throat and the top of our palate, right? Kha, 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 Kha. Now let's see the different forms of the letter Kha when written in a word. You can download this Arabic alphabet chart as well as the worksheets to follow along with me and practice your writing for free using the link below. And as we can see here on the page, everything is the exact same as the Jim, except that we have this dot placed above the letter, right? Which is a distinguishing quality of the Khaa, right? This is how we distinguish the Khaa from the Jim and from the Ha, right? And vice versa. So let's write the Khaa in its base form, right? Its isolated form, just like before. And again, notice the placement of the letter Khaa, right? We're not starting at the top of this line, right? We're starting midway through and we're finishing beneath the line, right? This hooked portion comes beneath the line. So this is something very important to make note of, right? And again, we start with the top portion of the Khaa, right? This 7 looking portion, right into a C with the dot above. And again, this 7 looking portion into a C with the dot above. And one more time, this 7 looking portion into a C with a dot above. At the beginning of a word, the Khaa looks like this, right? Again, something that we're all too familiar with by now, especially if we've mastered the last 2 lessons on the Jim and the Ha. So again, we start from the same positioning here in the center of this line, right? And we draw this 7 looking portion, right? And instead of going into the C, we extend out to the left so that there's a little tail here that the letter after can connect to, right? And then, of course, we can't forget this dot above the Khaa, right? The distinguishing feature of the Khaa, okay? And one more time with the dot above. Don't forget the dot above. And one more time. And don't forget the dot above. So this is the Khaa in its initial form, right? When it's placed at the beginning of a word. In the middle of a word, right? When the Khaa is placed between 2 letters, it looks like this, right? So we have this little tail portion that comes from the letter before it to the right. And then we're just connecting the beginning form to this tail right here from the letter to the right. So it's just this little 7 looking portion here, right? And to the left. And don't forget the dot above. And one more time, this tail from the letter to the right. We connect this beginning form to that tail. Don't forget the dot above. And again, one more time, just like so. Okay, and the dot above. So this is the Khaa in its medial form, right? And when placed at the end of a word, the Khaa looks like this. And again, it's identical to the Jim and the Ha, right? We have this little tail portion right here from the letter to the right that the Khaa is being connected to. And so all we're doing is we're taking the Khaa in its base form and we're just connecting it to this little tail right here from the letter to the right. And again, pay attention to the placement of the Khaa, right? It's a lower letter. It's that little hook portion, this little C portion, half of it should be below the line, right? So we start with this little tail that's from the letter to the right, because again, Arabic script is written from right to left. And then we draw the base form, right? We connect it to this tail from the letter before it, and don't forget the dot above, right? For the Khaa. Let's do this one more time. So this tail from the letter before to the right, the 7 portion over and around, and then this dot above. And again, one more time, this tail from the letter to the right that we're connecting the base form of the Khaa to. And again, don't forget that dot above, right? Very simple and straightforward. If you've been following along with me and using these worksheets, I'm sure you're a pro by now with writing the Jim, with writing the Ha, and with writing the Khaa. And now let's take a look at how the letter Khaa connects to other letters when placed in a word, by looking at this very common word that maybe some of you have heard before, khubz, khubz. And we see this Khaa in its beginning form, right? This is the initial form of the Khaa. It's starting the word, right? Again, we've cut off the bottom portion of that hook, right? That little C shape, and we've extended it out for the letter to the left of the Khaa to connect to. Let's take a look at another very common word, akh. Akh. This is actually an alif, but it's an alif hamza. And we're going to be talking about this special character that's placed on certain letters later in the series, inshallah. But it's essentially an alif. And this is good review because we know that the alif only connects from the right, never to the left. And that's why we see it here in its isolated form, right? But also we see here the Khaa in its isolated form, right? Why? Because it has nothing to connect to from the right side, right? So this is a very important keynote to make. And also keeping in mind as well that the Khaa in its medial form, when it's placed between two letters, it connects to both sides, right? And only from the right side when it's placed at the end. And it's also very important to never forget placing that dot above the letter Khaa. This is what allows us to be able to distinguish the Khaa from the Jim and from the Ha, right? Don't forget to practice writing the letter Khaa in all of its different forms, and also try to recognize it in the Quran or in other Arabic texts. Join me in the next lesson for the letter Dal.